Welcome to season 6 of Soccer Over Gotham. Jenna, season 6. That is just so crazy to think we've come this far and we're still here doing it. I'm Gary. I'm the producer of the show. Jenna Tonelli is the best friend of the show since the beginning. Jenna, how are you?
I'm great. How are you? Thanks for having me, as always.
Indeed. So our guest today is hashtag legend, NWSL champion on both sides of the pitch, former goalkeeper of the year, first goalkeeper to score in an NWSL match, has been an advocate the entire time for mental health, player rights, and who better to talk to about getting ready for Gotham 2026 than Michelle Betos. How are you, Michelle?
I'm good. Thank you for the introduction. I
Yes.
really appreciate it.
So Michelle, you're one of the hardest ones I've had to prepare for because I told you earlier, like there's just it's a half-hour interview, but like I have 3 hours worth of questions in my head because you're just such an interesting person, and you're like, well, we'll talk about it. Jen, did you want to jump in and do some rapid-fire questions?
Sure, we're gonna start with a rapid fire just to, get the juices flowing. So, all
Okay.
right. So, first thing that pops into your head. So, playing or coaching?
That it's too loaded. That's not rapid at all. That's another podcast. Honestly,
Oh,
both. Both.
or we'll
Both.
pencil. I'll call you later. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, what's like the number one thing you miss most about playing?
Competing.
Competing.
Competing on a daily basis. Yeah, like just getting that out of my system. I'm still like, yeah, that
Yeah.
that itch, that ability to win at something I miss for sure.
Well, the Olympics just ended. So, what's your favorite, winter or summer?
Uh, this one was incredible, but summer, just because of the soccer. But this one was a really amazing one to watch.
So
Yeah.
with the Olympics, is there like a sport that you were like, you know what, we just got video bombed, I guess, by Amaros? So if like an Olympic sport where you're like, you know what, I think I could do that, and is there one that you're like, I can't, there's no way, I'm not doing that?
There's several that there's no way. Any figure skating, skiing, my college friends can tell you I went skiing for the first time when I was like 21 and it was a disaster. The one that I want to do and actually believe I missed my calling is handball.
That seems
I
like a natural
When
extension.
we were in Spain, I saw that they were having like US Open tryouts and I actually tried to convince Juan to let me go and he said no. But I was like, I actually think that's what I was born for and this path has led me here and I didn't get to go. But I actually think that would be my sport.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
hysterical. One of my best friends also says he missed his calling as a handball player. So
It's such a sick sport and I just didn't play it
it's
growing up,
cool.
but like
Mhm.
it looks so fun.
Yeah, no, for sure. Okay, so number one favorite thing about being retired.
Honestly, just not stressing all the time like I haven't physically done enough. I still have that feeling a little bit of just like preparing the goalkeepers or doing,
Hmm.
the culture side of things and that still drives me, but I went on vacation this year for the first time in my life and I enjoyed vacation. Like that I keep telling everyone that I went to a pool and read a book and they were like, "Yeah, that's like vacation." And I'm like, "No, I have never been able to just like rest my mind and be like, okay, there's not something else I need to be doing.
Yeah.
Like this is okay."
What did you
So,
read?
like novels. Like I have always read like self-improvement books and it was mind-blowing. I just read a book to read a book. I read Harlan Coben and Reese Witherspoon wrote a book. It
Oh,
it,
cool.
it was great, but it also like wasn't about making me better as an athlete or and that to me was like mind-blowing. It was just like to enjoy.
I love
Um
that.
and that was just a total like
I love it.
mindset shift.
Okay, couple quick ones more. I think I know your answer to this next one, but scoring goals or stopping goals?
Stopping.
Yeah.
Always stopping.
Italian food or Greek food?
These are hard hitters. I can't. Like spanakopita, like pasticcio are my favorite food, but like everything Italian too. Yeah, I've both.
Yes, and I know we're both Queens girls, so what's your favorite restaurant in Queens?
So Fontana is a little Greek restaurant, right by where my mom like lives now, where I grew up. And yeah, of another Greek restaurant recently closed, and it like broke my heart. And if Fontana closes, like I won't survive. So
Well, hopefully not.
please,
I'll go give
like,
it some business.
yeah, please
Yeah.
do. It's their spinach pies are the best thing you're ever gonna
Oh
have.
God. Okay. Well, now I'm hungry. Okay, that's it. That's all the
Okay.
hard hitting questions I've got.
Yeah, that was
All
really
right.
difficult.
So Michelle, first question is, have you thought about writing a book? Just, I mean, you've been in the NWSL since its inception. You've seen everything. You've been like behind the scenes. I mean, the stories you could tell. Have you even like considered that?
I really appreciate that. I have considered writing multiple books in my head, and they
Right?
are always happening in my mind.
Yeah.
And I think I will get there someday. Throughout the lines of like, like athletes and like habit building and,
Hmm.
maximizing yourself. That's something I'm so passionate about. Like nervous system care and really like the other side that, you don't really talk about with performance is something I'm so passionate about. I've thought about writing like an athlete daily devotional, like looking at like from a Christian perspective and like things that carried me through it. So like, and short answer, yes. And yeah, just living this life, like it's something that I'm really grateful for, and I've had so many lessons that I wish I knew when I was younger. So, in some way, shape, or form, I think I will find a way to get those out.
Well, if you need a
Yeah.
ghostwriter, let me know.
I appreciate that. I
Yeah.
might take you up on it.
Yeah. I think Gotham missed the I don't know missed it I guess on like getting a there's got to be a documentary done on the 2023 Gotham FC team. It's like one of the greatest sports stories ever. So I think like that needs to happen, but you also need to write a book as well.
I
Uh,
appreciate.
yeah, and so I mean, going back to the beginning, just the league was so crazy at the beginning, and I'm just curious what your thoughts on like what your career would look like at that time. Like, was it just we just vibing, just I'm playing it because I love it, and it's just here, and then like now as you've seen it, like what were your expectations?
I would say my expectations have both been totally surpassed, and
Okay,
it's everything I hoped for.
okay,
Because, going into the league, I'd obviously seen two leagues fold. And so, really, in the beginning, it was just about, like, how do we make this last? I just knew how important it was to have this thing be around. I've said this to Jenna probably in other places, but like I grew up wanting to play in the WNBA because I saw the WNBA and it lasted year over year after year. So I could watch on TV. I would watch a move, I'd watch Rebecca Lobo do something, then I'd go outside and do it on my basketball hoop, and back and forth and back and forth. And I just could see this vision. And some people are more creative than me, so they can see things before they're there. But for me, I saw it, so I was like, okay, I want to be that. And I just think that it was such a passion of mine to make sure that girls growing up could see this and be it. So in 2013, it was obviously the first year of the NWSL. It was wild, and there were so many things where I'm like, if you sat and thought about it, like this isn't enough, this isn't good enough, we need to fix this, fix that, fix that. But I was also like a kid living a dream, and I was like, oh yeah, $7 to play professionally, like sure, like like I was
$7.
living my dream, and not many
Yeah.
people get to say that. And I do think like I always had this kind of approach where like I'm so grateful and I'm gonna push for more because I know it's so important. But I really did just enjoy it, and I think I had all these big goals for myself and for the league and for where the soccer could go. But it really was the day-to-day grind of like, okay, I see all these big picture things, but it's like I'm going to be where I am every single day and not take it for granted because it can be stripped away. I had that happen. I was getting ready for a WPS season and got an email after I was running on the field. I was doing my like preseason packet, was dying. I sat down to look at my phone, and it said, "Sorry to inform you, there won't be a season this year." And like that,
Heartbreaking.
it was just gone.
Yeah.
And so I think having the NWSL and just like this could go away any minute, and that's the life of an athlete, whether it's an injury, whether it's a league folding, whether it's, whatever it is. So yeah, I think I really just tried to enjoy the day to day, but I think I always had big aspirations for it as well.
yeah. We started covering the league like 2015. I started following the league 2015, 2016. I think the league minimum was like $6,000. So I don't think Michelle, you're far off on that $7 per
So
game.
I don't really think there was an official league minimum
Yeah.
until I think it was around 2019, 18.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Wow.
I remember my first year in Gotham, 2022, the league minimum was about $30,000.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And I was actually talking to Savannah McCaskill the other day about how like we had to work for so long to make $30,000 a year, and so and in those moments I remember talking to Hensley. She was a rookie goalkeeper, and she was like, I'm poor. And I'm like, no, 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 you don't know what poor is. So
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
you deserve more, and appreciate how far we've come. And that was kind
Oh
of like
yeah.
the story of my like second half of my career is
Mhm.
see how far we've come, see how far we can go, and like live in those two areas.
And that wasn't easy. I can't imagine like going through that. Like you must have had so many people that supported you throughout that. Like who were some of the people that supported you and like were your rocks going through, I mean, a pretty
Yeah,
tough
I
career.
mean, my parents, my family, I will always say, I mean, the number one reason I've done anything special or
Hmm.
anything in my life is my parents in every single way supported me. Yeah, it just wouldn't have been possible without them. I also had people who trained me for free, like in an off season when, like I have two goalkeeper coaches that I would go live with them in the off season and train, and I didn't pay for that. I couldn't have paid for that. It was these people who were just invested in me and investing in helping me that I always think about now when I coach. Anytime that there's a kid that can't afford something or whatever, like I'm gonna help that kid because that was given to me. But yeah, I mean, I've just had so many incredible people in my life. I mean, that's by far the best gift I've ever been given is the people in my life, and it's not something I take for granted. But yeah, I mean, financially, mentally, emotionally, like these are the people that supported me. It wasn't until later in my career that I was paying off the credit card debt of being a professional soccer for the first half of my career. You know, so yeah, it was a really difficult thing, but also it was beautiful and amazing.
Yeah.
And so yeah, my mom, my dad, again, that's a podcast for when I have an hour or two. But I yeah, I have so
Yeah.
many incredible people that have been in my corner in big ways, in little moments that might not even know it. So many people that have poured into me, teammates, girls who are older than me, supporting me. You go through so much with your teammates that you're going through everything in life together. So yeah, I've just had so many people.
And, one of the things that we wanted to talk to you about was, whether it's, behind the scenes or publicly, you're definitely someone that we know has used your platform to help initiate that change in the NWSL and help, get that historic CBA and help make sure that players aren't making $7 a game and getting it to where it is now. So I'm curious about your personal why, just kind of like what motivates you to keep pushing to leave the sport a better place than how you found it.
Yeah, I don't know. I think part of it is my parents. They always told me to make every room I went in better from when I was a kid. And I come from a really empathetic family where I feel all the things people are feeling. And when they don't feel good, I want to make them better. That's been since I was little. But I think for me, it's just I just have this perspective that, and I think it's been my journey, is I really think people are limitless. And I think sport especially like is a place where people really try to limit you. It's really common to hear why you can't do something. And it's easy to pick that out, but I've always just been a believer that there's so much we can do. So I think for me, it's always just been, I've just always derived so much joy in investing in other people's journeys, in making sure they're cared for and making sure they're loved. I think it's the best thing you can do for someone. And yeah, I think it's my driver. I was so well loved. I think like one of my purposes in this life is to love other people. And I think loving them, is seeing what they're capable of, is, supporting them when things are hard, celebrating when things are good. And I just love seeing other people succeed. It's also a selfish endeavor, it brings me joy,
Yeah.
to invest in others, to invest in my teammates. I say to our players now, like because this is such a challenging, like individual track when you get to the professional game, like it's so common and normal to just look at like how I feel. This was a hard day for me. I'm really struggling. And in those moments, the best thing you can do for your performance, for your mental health and all that is actually find someone else to invest in. Find
Hmm.
somebody else how you can help somebody else. And obviously team sports are perfect for that, but um it really is a source of joy. And I think it's human nature to really care about others. So I think for me that's always been natural. I think it's probably most people's nature. And yeah, I just love seeing people succeed. I love seeing people figure out how much they actually are capable of. And that looks a lot of different ways. Sometimes that's pushing through a workout. Sometimes that's taking a break and taking care of yourself and taking care of your mind, taking care of your body, taking care of your loved ones, and that for me is something I figured out kind of the hard way in my career. I was so maniacally driven at my goals, and I was like Michelle the soccer player. Michelle the soccer player can do anything, and then Michelle the person was here. And I've said this before, but my dad passed away during COVID in the middle of the night on a Sunday night, and I didn't tell anyone. I went to training on Monday.
That's crazy.
And I was terrible at training. And I was so mad at myself because I'm like, why can't I just compartmentalize? Like, why can't I just put that away? And it really wasn't till then that I started doing the work on like, okay, what affects Michelle the person actually affects Michelle the athlete, and vice versa. And the two really can't be separated.
Yeah.
So that really did like spark something in me in my individual journey, but in how I help others. Like, it's not just about mental and physical performance. It's also about mental health and psychological safety and taking care of the person, and not as a side quest, but actually as a means to performance and a means to like, well-being and a life you want to live.
One of the things that, we know that you were so great about is, when Sinead Farley came back to the NWSL, and I know you guys are very close, and it just, everything with her and Mana just sparked this reckoning in the league. Just kind of what was that process like for you? And then, watching her get back to the pitch and then win that championship in 2023.
It is by far one of the best moments of my career and life. What Mana and Sinead did it cannot be understated how brave. They are my heroes. Sinead is my hero. I tell her all the time in all the things she does and how authentically her she is, but also in how she handles things and uses her platform. But all of us in the league actually had to go through a big reckoning, and that's still something I'm like processing, and it's been a long time now. But like, the way we existed in this league for so long was really shaped by our experiences from even when we were kids. Like, it wasn't a safe place to be, but it's all we knew. And so we operated in ways and accepted things in environments that weren't okay because it's all we knew. And we're kind of conditioned that way. And I think for all of us that were kind of part of that, it's now this reckoning of, okay, like, that wasn't okay. And that's, now in my coaching career, it's like, I find myself like, oh, what worked for me? That worked for me, but that wasn't actually, that was small fuel. That wasn't, like, fear is a really short fuse. Like, it will work until it doesn't work. Same thing with some of the emotional abuse and manipulation and things like that. Like, the reason people do it is actually because it works in the short term. But what you're actually doing to the person and the player in the long term is not going to work, and it will catch them. It will catch you. Performance will be affected, well-being will be affected. Like, that is not the long-term investment in a human or a player. So yeah, there's so many lessons from that time. There's so much like individual processing. Paul Riley was my club coach. That was all I knew for so long. And yeah, I played big roles in those environments. So yeah, there's so much there. But really the biggest things for me are what I take from the experiences, and really as a player and even as a coach now, like, working with the players and the younger players to understand what's acceptable, what's not acceptable, like what to prioritize, when to check yourself, like when something doesn't feel good, to say it, to express it. Like, if it doesn't feel good, there probably is something off, and let's explore that. Let's give that space, so it's so important. And even in my work, so one of my roles now in Gotham is like team culture lead. And it is culture with the players, but it's also culture with the staff. It's understanding the meaning of our words, the platform we have to impact people. Like, the most impactful people in my life are my coaches, for better and for worse. And I've seen, I've reaped the rewards and, felt the hardships because of that. But yeah, there's so much there, but there's so much from my negative and positive experiences that really drive me to try to get this right, for this next generation, and the influence they will have, and what will become the standard and norm and acceptable behaviors, throughout every environment in soccer.
Absolutely. And you kind of just touched on our next question, which is why it's important for players to feel like they have the power to speak up, and then what former players can do who are now also in positions of power, whether it's, they're retired and they're in media or they're coaching, just being able to kind of use their power and positions to help, keep pushing the league forward.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the biggest things I learned throughout my career is that you tend to think when you're the captain or you're the leader or you score the winning goal or you make the game winning save that then you have a platform. And the reality is actually everyone has a platform in that locker room. Later in my career, I obviously was not playing much, but I was still one of our leaders. And it was actually in moments when I wasn't playing where it would have been easy to be super negative or be a certain way that when I behaved differently, it actually had more impact, because I wasn't getting all the external rewards and things like that. So my messaging to former players, to current players, to younger players is use your platform. Even if that just starts with the two people sitting next to you, right and left of you, maybe that if you're 12, maybe that's talking to an 8-year-old about one thing you've learned, and it is so important players express themselves and take care of themselves. And I think, a really big push for me now being on this side is like to really mend the fences of the two sides. For so long, coaches were, there were a lot of coaches that were abusive and it was this really negative relationship and a power imbalance and things like that. And at least to my knowledge, a lot of those, most of those people, if not all those people, have been removed from environments. And now how do we heal the environment as well? Because coaches, like I said, some of the coaches I've had in my life are still in my life. They're still the most important people in my life. And I think that coach-player relationship is so important. And so it's like, how do we on the coaching side make sure we protect that space and make it a really safe space and really hold the responsibility and accountability for what that role has, what words we speak, the way we carry ourselves, things like that. And for players, like, how do we give them a safe space to have a healthy relationship with coaches where they feel seen and heard? And, one of the biggest things for me at Gotham is like, we are people first. And that's something Yael is saying. That is something Carolyn and ownership are saying. That is something that coaches are saying. Like, you are a human first. And we care for you as a person, whether you play 90 minutes a game or 0 minutes of game. Like, the way we care about you actually does not change depending on that. We will always care about you first as a person. If you need to do something separate as a person, if you need to take care of yourself, do it. And really valuing that, really, and that doesn't just come from words, that comes from actions. When somebody does take mental health leave or comes to us and says, hey, I had this hard problem, or I just didn't sleep last night. How we respond in those vulnerable moments is everything, because that's where trust is built, and trust is really hard to build, and it's been broken over the years. So yeah, it's just a huge passion of mine to really now try to mend these fences when we're all driving in the same direction. We all care about each other. We all want the same things for each other and, on the field, of course. So, really kind of this next generation and this next evolution, I think, is how do we make this a psychologically safe environment? Because I think the thing I will say anytime I'm given the chance is well-being and performance cannot be separated, and you don't need to choose one. Actually, by choosing one, you're really helping the other. So and that's something that, like, I had to kind of learn the hard way, and I think it's such an important lesson for everyone.
I do want to jump over to Gotham FC, and now that you're in a coaching role, this is something I was always curious about, like Gotham especially, because you have 4 like excellent keepers. Like, how do you keep like everybody focused, everybody in a game? Because it's not like a midfielder where you can sneak them in a game over here and there, give them 15 minutes here and there. You don't generally get that with a goalkeeper. So how do you keep like ready and focused while competing against, some of the best in the world?
Yeah, we are so lucky. Our goalkeeper group is so special. Like,
Ridiculous.
We are so great humans, though, too. Really good humans, really good group. They really get along and they really care about each other. And, that's the life of a goalkeeper. It's why we are a different breed. It's why we have goalkeeper unions. It's why we have like goalkeeper support systems, like it is another world. It's another being, and you really can't. It's really difficult to understand it unless you're in it. And really for us, the biggest thing in our dedication, Brody and I, is we are so invested in every single one of them individually. And our job, what we can control and what they can control, is how they show up every day, how they grow, how they learn, how they identify the gaps between where they are and where they want to be, how they learn from each other, how they handle mistakes, how they handle hardship, like that, like I think soccer as a whole is a microcosm for life, but goalkeeping especially. And I think for us, it's just everything we do, like our focuses are, like when we talk about our goalkeeper individual development plans, it is not just like technical and tactical. It's technical, tactical, physical, mental, emotional, social. And those are things we are focusing on and talking about every single day, because to be an elite goalkeeper, but also to survive and thrive in this really competitive environment, those things need to be prioritized. Obviously, ultimately, it's up to the individual and how they handle things and how they show up every day. And it's a super competitive environment that, you have to show up every day as your best self to really compete. But for us, it's just the individual investment. I think that's what really keeps them ticking, because it's so normal to judge success on external outcomes, right? Like, oh, my success is I have success because I'm playing in this game. Oh, I have success because I have a clean sheet. Oh, I have success because the team won. And the reality is those three things are super uncontrollable. Like, we can do things to help, give us the best chance of those things, but ultimately that is out of our control. So really we spend every day and some days more than others really focusing on what is in our control and how are we maximizing that. And that's on the field, that's off the field, that's in meetings, that's in film, that's in visualization, that's in recovery techniques, that's in shutting your brain completely and going to be a normal person for a day, but it really is that individual investment. And our commitment to them is, if you show up and you give us everything, we will give you everything it takes to get better every day. And we're really individual with it. We have 4 great goalkeepers, but all of them is different. They have different strengths, different weaknesses, different approaches, different headspaces. Like, they could be a documentary in themselves. They are fascinating. But it really is meeting them exactly where they are with who they are, and their skill sets, and figuring out where they are, where they want to be. They all have big goals. They all have big aspirations, and just, again, going back to controllables every single day. Like, what can we control? How can we get better today? Did we do that? Check. Yes. Okay. Now we go ahead and we do it tomorrow. And it really is really a never ending ascension. And we don't measure them by these external things. We don't measure them that they didn't make a mistake in the game, or they played or they didn't play. Like, that for us is really just things that come as a consequence of all the other things. So it's really about where we focus our energy and where we try to steer their energy as well.
Yeah, no, that makes a ton of sense. And then, so, backing up and just kind of looking at the team as a whole, we won't talk about 2022, but 2023 won the championship. 2024, came really close to getting there. Unfortunately, lost in the PKs. 2025 won a title again. So the trajectory of this club is up and up and up. So what do you think we can expect from the team this year? What's it looking like?
I mean, the reality is this team's a group of winners. They are winners. When we win, they're still not satisfied. They still want more. They want better performances. They want better things. Like, we just went in our preseason and we made a list of things that we're going to measure ourselves on from every game that are not the score. Because the team's expectations, the players' expectations are so high. So we could win, but if our possession percentage isn't this, and we've given up this many shots and whatever, like, they're not happy. And we love that about them. Like, that is why they are successful. So again, I want to say, expect all the titles. That's what we're shooting for. We are shooting for anything there is to win. Gotham is shooting to win it. That is a no-brainer. That's not a discussion. That's just who we are. But I think you're going to see a team that's super competitive. I think you're going to see a team that, similar to the goalkeeper environment, everybody's competing every day. This roster is really special. There's a lot of young talent, a lot of older talent, a lot in between. Like, I think we have such a good balance. And it's really going to be about what's the best for the game that day. Everybody's competing. Everybody's pushing each other. It's a team that really cares about each other. The culture is really, really, like I said, I thought that in 2025, like, in a league with, like, the NWSL, where, like, the margins between victory and not are so incredibly small, it's going to be the culture things that push you over. It's going to be the mentality pieces. It's going to be, because everybody's talented, everybody's good, everybody has the same salary cap to work with, So it's, how much do we invest in our players? How do we maximize our players? And how do they work together? How do they care for each other? How do they have each other's backs? What are they willing to do together? And I think this group is so special in that sense. So yeah, expect big things. Expect a team that is relentless in their pursuit. and a team that's really focused on the process, because that's really what it's about. You know, we have our objective things that we're going to try to achieve every day, and we think that if we check those marks more times than not, we're going to win a lot of games. So that you know, that's what we're going for.
Yeah.
All right, last question for you, Michelle, before we go. Being you're a native New Yorker, now you're looking at 2 weeks from now playing in Boston. Welcome back, Boston. Just your thoughts on having Boston back in the league as a New Yorker.
I think it's awesome. I've said actually since I got to this team, like there is a New York grit to it, a New York, New Jersey grit. That's something I tried to carry with me to every team I went to, which was everywhere but New York and New Jersey for most of my career. I think it's fun when they start to feel these rivalries. Like our team's super competitive, like small-sided looks like a World Cup most days, but I think, you know, give them just that little extra, like, oh yeah, like, okay, Boston, okay, Washington, you know, like that territorial thing. Yeah, I think it's gonna be super fun. You know, I think the league is in such an exciting place. I think Boston's gonna be a really fun team to play. They are super talented, a different look than a lot of NWSL teams, which I think is gonna be exciting. It'll probably be a different style. I think they're gonna be good. They're gonna be a tough challenge like every game. But yeah, I think it'll be really fun, and I'm excited to have them back in the league.
Yeah. Boston, March 14th away, and then home game, North Carolina Courage at home on March 21st. Super excited. You ready, Michelle?
Yeah. This group is ready, and I'm ready to.
Ready to go. All right, we will talk to you all soon. Thanks you all for listening. Again, Michelle, thank you for joining us. We'll take you back anytime.
Thank you so much for having me.
You got it.